property type called cross property. Most agents, does anybody know what that means? Some people do? Good. Most of you probably don't. Let's say I have a client, they have to move here August 1st. They have to live here August 1st. So they'd like to buy a house, but they may have to rent a house until they find something to buy. So I'd have to do two searches, right? I have to do a search for residential and I have to do a search for rental. Well, what I could do is I could do a cross-property search and say, give me all the for sale and for rent in this area. Or somebody knows where they want to live on the east side of town, they don't care if they buy a house or if they build a house. Instead of running a vacant land in residential search, you can run a cross-property search and say return all vacant land and residential. So that's what cross-property is. You want to search more than one property type. Now, of course, if you're doing a cross-property search, don't use as your criteria price, because that's going to knock out one or the other. That type of thing. Don't put bedrooms if you're looking for land or for sale property. So you have to, you can't be that specific, but you could draw a circle and say, tell me anything that's available in here, multifamily, commercial, whatever. All right, let's go into residential. Here's the, oh, my phone's too far away. Come on. Here's the fields that the board fields that you typically use for searching are already on here. But down here at the bottom, you can add any other fields that you might need for a search. For example, I've added public remarks. If you go to add remove, here's all the fields that you could add. Here's the fields that you have added. So if you need a field for a certain search, like age restricted, I can add it. These over here I can put in any order that I want. So now when I go back to my residential from any device, now I'll have those both down there. If I don't need that age restricted anymore, I want to clean it up, I can come here to add remove. I can say remove. And now on my residential from any device, I'll just have the remarks. So that's how you can add any additional fields. If you come up here to status, if you add any off-market status, like sold, canceled, expired, it's initially going to give you 6 months worth of history. If you only want 30 days, you can change that to 30. If you want a whole year, you can change it to 365. Or you can use this calendar here and you can say, I only want solds from May 1st through the 26th. Or you could type a date range there. So that's how you can determine for any off-market statuses how much historical data you get. The next thing I want to talk about is table-driven fields. Fields where you can pick multiple values. If I want a single-family condo and townhouse, if I click on it, it's just going to select that one. If I want to pick multiples, I'd hold down my control key or command key on a Mac, and I can pick multiples. If I want to turn one off, deselect one, if I just click on it, it selects that one. So if I want to turn something off that I have selected, again, I hold my control key down and turn them off one at a time. If you forget how to do that, underneath this question mark here, it'll remind you about using your control key. So that's any pick list item, even if it's a field that you add at the bottom, that's how you pick multiples. Next we'll talk about numeric fields, like price. If I type in 400, that's exactly 400,000. And you'll see down here in the bottom left, I have one match. There's one listing that's active that's exactly 400,000. So as you're typing in information, it's immediately running your search and telling you how many results you have. If I want 400,000 or more, I'd add a plus, and now I have 1,169 matches. If I want 400,000 or less, I put a minus, and I have 992 matches. And if I want a range, I put 400-600, and I have 91. So as you're typing in the information, it's running your search and telling you how many results you have. So if you put in something that breaks your search, you'll immediately see it go to 0, so you'll know what you did wrong.
Can you start with 0?
If you,
Can you start with 0? In other words, your range from 0 to 400 or whatever.
Sure, but 0 to 400 would be the same as doing 400 minus.
Okay.
But either way, but yes. Now, if you forget how to do a numeric field, if you hit your question mark, there it'll remind you how to use that field. Now, that's all numeric fields. So if I go to bedrooms and I put 4, that takes me to 21. But that's exactly 4 bedrooms. Most clients don't care if they get extra bedrooms for free, right? So typically you'd want to put 4 plus, and that takes me to 31. Now that's all numeric fields. Square feet. Year built. If in year built I put 2005, it's only going to return listings that the agents say were built in 2005. If I want 2005 or newer, I'd put 2005 plus. If I want 2005 and newer, but I don't want brand new, I might put 2005-2016. So pretty much, I think the rule of thumb is if it's a numeric field, you want some sort of operand, plus, minus, or range. But if somebody comes to me and says, no, I only want 4 bedrooms. If I have more bedrooms, my mother-in-law is going to move in, only 4, I can put just 4. There's one other type of field. Fields that people can type into, like remarks, like street name. The wild card in those fields is the asterisk. So let's say I want to know, do any of these listings in the public remarks field, do any of them have the word pool? I would type in asterisk, P-O-O-L asterisk, and 13 of them somewhere in the remarks has the word pool. If I do not want any that have the word pool, in front of that I would put an exclamation point, not containing pool, and there's the other 18. Now, do you need to write that down on a piece of paper that you're going to spill coffee on or it's going to blow out your window?
Or drop your soda on.
Do you need to write it down?
No, we wouldn't.
No, right there's your question mark. If you click on it, it'll remind you about the asterisk and the exclamation point. Now that's really important, I think, in a field like street name. Let's say you have a street and the name of the street is Oak Forest. Some agent might put Oak Forest as one word. Another agent might put Oak space Forest. Even another agent might put Oak space FRST. What I would do in that case is I would put Oak asterisk. Starting with Oak, I don't care how they spell forest. Or you guys have a Highway 95 here, right?
Yes.
Some agent might spell out highway. Another agent might put HWY. What I would do there is I would put asterisk space 95. The reason I put the space is maybe you also have a 295 and a 495. So if you just put asterisk 95, it would find all of those. So that's why I put the space. The data is only as good as the agent that put it in. So sometimes you got to outthink them. Now normally, once you put your criteria in, you go to results. I'm just going to make a quick stop at the map to show you, it's going to show me where those properties are located. If I hover over any of them, it'll tell me price, beds, baths. If I click on any of them, it'll give me more information. But typically, once you put in your criteria, you'll go to results. And this is the grid that the association built for you. Now there's things you can do on here. If you click on the name in any of these columns, it'll sort by that column. So there's address ascending, there's address descending, price ascending, price descending. I can also change the way this looks. For example, I like my price up at the beginning. To me, that's the most important. So I can grab price, click anywhere in the heading, not on the word, that would sort it, anywhere else on the heading, and I can click and drag it
Nice.
wherever I want. Maybe I want the beds and baths over there. Click, drag, click, drag. I can also get rid of any of these fields. For example, I don't like area. I can click, remove. I don't want subdivision, click, remove. I can insert columns. So maybe after the address, I want to insert a column,
Oh, cool.
and I want to insert the zip code.
Is there acres that you can insert?
I'm sure there is. Acres right there.
Yay.
Oh, wow.
So I can do anything I want. Now the changes that I made here will only be for this session.
Aw.
But if I like what I did, I want to keep this. I come over here to this pencil and paper. I'll call this one my zip, and I'll save it. Now in my list of displays, I have my zip. I can create as many of these as I want. Maybe I want another one for when I'm getting ready to set up appointments that has the agent name and phone number on. Or maybe I want another one for when I'm looking at sold properties that has the sold information. So I can create as many of them as I want. I can also determine which one is my default. When I run a search, how do I want to see it? Some agents like this because it reminds them of Innovia, this photo one-liner that has a little picture of each of them. Or maybe you want one that you created as your default, but you only want 10 per page because you have a small monitor. Or maybe you want 100 per page because you like to scroll when you're looking at them. Whenever you get this looking the way you want it to be as your default, come over here to this gear and you can set that as your default. From then on, when you run a search and go to results, it'll look the way you want to see it. For any set of results, you could always switch to another display, but the next time you run a search, it'll come up the way you want to see it. Now you'll notice these icons here. On your single line, you have your predominant ones. On your full display, you have all of your icons, like your super icons, data issue icons. Also on the full display, I can go from listing to listing. Or if I'm looking at property history, I can go from history to history. Or I can go from photos to photos. Back on our single line, let's take a look at some of the icons. The first one is, if you hover over them, it's kind of hard to see, but it'll tell you what it is. This is view the photos. So I click on it. There's the nice big pictures. And you'll see your captions are down here. I can go through them this way. looking at the different large photos. We also say the thumbnail photo, which will show you all the photos at once. We also say the medium size photo. When you click on that, it'll show you the medium photos along with any comments that the agent put on the photo. So there's lots of ways to look at the photos. Your clients have all these same ways on their portal. The next one is the map. It'll show you where the property's located on the map. Again, you're connected to Realist, so you can click on any of these parcels, find out the owner name, the address, the lot dimensions on any of the parcels on the screen. We'll zoom out a little bit. Not too much, maybe there. I can also come up to these layers here, and I can put different layers on the map. Like I can put the owner name on all of the parcels, or I can put the lot area on all of the parcels.
I saw flood up there.
You saw flood?
Yeah.
You're in the desert. What do you care about flood? If I come up here to boundaries, I can also put the flood zones on the map, and if this had any flood zones in the area,
Nice.
it would show the different flood zones.
And that comes from the county?
Huh?
That comes from the county?
This comes from FEMA.
FEMA, awesome.
This is
Okay.
all through CoreLogic.
Okay.
CoreLogic. Even when we look at the tax records, we provide you with more than just what the county provides. Like if you look at a tax record in Matrix, and we will in a second, you'll not only see what the county provides, but you'll also see mortgage history. You'll also see foreclosure history. So we gather, CoreLogic has a lot more information than the county has, and we provide that all to you. I can put zip codes on there,
So it's like safe to use.
and if I go out further, hopefully we'll have some different zip codes. I don't
Oh,
know.
neat.
Here we got some different zip codes. We can even do some trending. So if I wanted to put the median sale price, they're all the same, but if there was differences, they'd be different shades. Or the number of properties in foreclosure. I mean, there's a lot that you can do on the mapping here. Now, your client will not be able to do that. They need that from you.
Is there a place that, when you're pulling up the map like that, it'll show you your longitude and latitude? Is there a box to click that will give you by parcel?
No. No,
That'd be
there's not.
too nice. Okay, good.
Now, another thing, if it's available, you'll have the Google Street View, where you can see what the property looks like from the
Nice.
road. You can look around. Now, I did mention to you before, because I wanted to keep it as a surprise, but in Add Edit, where you can map your property, there's also a link there where you can set, the listing agent can set the Google Street View. Because Google Street View, and a lot of them will open up like this. So the listing agent right there in Add Edit could go, no, I want it to open up like that when somebody clicks on it. Now, the Google Street View, your clients will also have on their portal. The next one's the history. It'll show you the history of the property if it's been on the market before. Over to the right here, you have your attachments, if there's any open houses, the realist tax record, and as I mentioned before, we provide more than just what the county provides. Down at the bottom here, if there is any, this one is both. Shows you the mortgage history, any foreclosure history on the property. If you're looking at mortgage history, the dollar amount is the originating amount, not what they still owe on it. Also, if you haven't really played in Realist, also on these reports you have this neighborhood. I'll click on this and this will take a second because it's pulling in all kinds of information about the property, the area that the property's in. Like it'll show us demographic information. This is going real slow. If it doesn't come up, you'll just have to take my word for it. But It's going to pull up demographic. Oh, here it comes. Demographic information, school rating information. Here we go. Demographics. School ratings. Any schools within 10 miles of the property. And this is what I really think is cool. I don't know where I'm at here. But it'll also show local businesses within 10 miles of the property. I think this is a great report for somebody just moving to the area that doesn't know, what automobile services or banks are close to their house. Because you can email, print this, and share it with your client. I think it's a pretty nice report. And you'll see that on all of the realist tax records. Now you'll notice my button bar down here at the bottom is kind of boring right now. But once I start selecting listings, it'll allow me to do things with the listings. So for example, if I want to email those 4 listings to someone, I would click on email. If I start typing in a name and it matches any of my clients, it'll pull it up and I could just select it rather than having to type it all in. Or if I type in an email address that matches one of my clients, it'll pull it up so I can select it. Or if I want to send it to multiple people, I can hit the 2 and I use my control key to send to multiples, and then I BCC so it'll look like it just went to them. Or I could type anybody's email address in there. They don't have to be a contact. However, if they're not a contact, when they get that email and click on it, it's going to open up in my branded portal, but all that person that's not a contact is going to be able to do is look at those 4 listings. That's it. They won't be able to say favorites. They won't be able to run their own searches. If you get to this point and you want them to have all of those capabilities, right here's the link, create a new contact, first name, last name, email address at a minimum. You could put more information in if you'd like, but at a minimum, those 3 fields, then you'd hit save. That would put them in your contact database. It would create a portal, full function portal, and a cart for them. Then you'd put in your subject, your email body, and you'd hit send. I want to print those 4 listings. What did I do? I want to print those 4 listings. I go to print. You'll notice that that grid that I created, the MyZip, is also available to print. So any grids that you create are available to print. And maybe I want the full display, and I want the customer display, so I'll hold my control key. Here's where if I wanted to, I could put my header on, print header. Also, if I'm doing the full display, I can either print all of the tabs, so the photos, the listing, and the property history. So I could add all of those, so it would print them all out at once, and then I'd hit print. I'm going to go back to results. The next button bar, CMA, that's if these were my comparables and I wanted to do a presentation CMA, I would click on CMA. It would take the comparables in and open up the CMA wizard for me and walk me through doing a presentation CMA. Directions. Matrix puts the properties in the quickest driving order. Ooh.
Yay!
But that doesn't always work for you guys because of appointments, right? If you need to go in a different order, you can just click and drag them into whatever order you want. You can add a start, maybe your office or their home, put it at the top. You can add a stop, to put it at the bottom, but if the stop's where you want to take them for lunch, you could click and drag it. If you made any changes, you need to redo the directions, so you click, and then it'll give you directions from the first property to the second to the third, and the third to fourth. It'll
No,
give
that's
you
awesome, everybody.
Estimated mileage and drive time, and it'll also give you overall mileage and drive time. Again, this is a good reason, make sure your listing's mapped properly.
Is it automatically doing that direction there
Yep.
when you put the listing?
Yep.
The most important thing is make
From
sure
where
your-
it's mapped.
Yeah. Make sure your property's mapped correctly where it is, and make sure you got every photo in there that you want, even if it's the street. Those are the most important things.
There's also some statistical type things you can do right from the actions button bar. So I click on stats. It's going to give me minimum, maximum, average, and median for those 4 properties. There's a nicer one, I think, called the CMA summary that's going to give me the same information, but it's also going to show me the listings that were included to get those minimum, maximum, average, and medians. And then we give you this other report, the 3-up comparison, which is kind of nice because it's going to show the listings 3-up on a page so you can compare the different features between the properties. So you can compare things. So those are the actions on the actions button bar. The next button bar is refine. And that's for if I only want to see the listings that I have selected. I can narrow them. So I just see those 4. If I want to go back to everything again, I follow this link back to original results. Or I could have hit my browser back button. The browser back button will take you back to the previous page. However, if you're on a set of results and you want to go back to the criteria for these results, here's how you get there. If I loaded the criteria screen and then I typed in all kinds of stuff and went to results and then hit my browser back button, it would go back to criteria the way it loaded, blank. You'll only do that one time and you'll remember, here's how you get back to criteria. Next button bar is save. 2 kinds of searches, remember? Save search. Save search is just sitting in Matrix so I can log into Matrix, click on it, and run it. I put in a name for the search. And here's where, if I wanted to, I could put it in that favorite searches gadget on my home page so I can run it right from the home page or use it as a hot sheet type function. And then I hit save. Auto email, one that's going to work for you. The person has to be a contact in order to get auto emails. If they're not already a contact, there's your link to create a new contact. Subject. Subject is the name of the search. Whatever you put in subject is what it's going to show up as here on their portal. It's what the emails are going to be called. The point I'm trying to make, under subject, don't put hi, or that'll be the name of their search. And they'll probably think you were when you saved it. Put in something meaningful. The part of town, their criteria, something that's going to mean something to them. Don't put in Joe's search. Joe already knows it's his search. Put in something that makes sense. There's 2 different emails associated with auto email. There's the welcome email, the one that goes out the very first time. Welcome to your portal, blah, blah, blah. And the recurring email, the one that goes out every time there's new matches.
Nice.
It shows you what they're going to say, but if you want, you can add something on there. Now, if you add something, it'll just be for this search's recurring email. But if you added something that you want to be your default, here you have your gear. Set it as your default for your recurring email. The same thing with the welcome email. Here's what it's going to say, but you can always add something. Maybe you want to take them out and buy them lunch and show them the listings. If you're going to buy them lunch, I recommend putting that on the welcome email, not the recurring email, because they'll take you up on it every time. Now, what I added would just be for this search's welcome email, but if I did a lot of information about the portal, how it works, whatever, there's a gear that I can make it as my default going forward. Yes, sir?
Default is still just for this search, or is it for
No,
all of them?
this would be just for this search.
Okay.
But if I go to my gear and set it as my default for my welcome email, going forward, it would use it every time. So if you just want to put a paragraph in about, I've spent hours setting up this search for you, and this should encompass everything you want and everything else, and you want to use that all the time, make it your default then. As you work your way down, under settings, here's where, if I wanted to, I could put it in concierge mode. Put myself in the middle of it. Watch what happens to these days of the week it's going to run and send emails when I put it in concierge mode. They went away. Why did they go away?
Just send it, approve it.
Because it's up to you when the email goes out. Whenever you approve any listings, it'll send the recurring email. Now, if I put it in concierge mode, I even have an option here to have it send me an email. So I don't have to log into the system to see there's listings waiting. It'll send me my email. And if I have my email going to my phone, right from my phone, I can be productive while I'm waiting for a client to show up to show them a property. I can be approving and rejecting listings for another client. Now, if I was to save this in concierge mode, the first thing it would do is show me all the listings and give me an opportunity to reject any of them that I want. And as soon as I approve any, that welcome email would go to my client. Now, if I do not put it in concierge mode, my days of the week come back, and I can have it run every morning. Or I could have it run every afternoon. Or if it's a real hot market, I can have it run twice a day, morning and afternoon. Or this client may have told me, hey, I only have time to look at properties on the weekends, so just have it run Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, if I was to hit save, not in concierge mode, as soon as I hit save, the welcome email would go to my client. And the last button bar item is carts. Very easily, if I wanted to put these listings in my cart or one of my clients' carts, I'd select the person, click on Add To, and it would add them into their cart. Any questions about searching, emailing, printing, auto notification, building custom grids, anything I've gone over?
No, that cart that you just added to the cart, that's not the cart that goes to them, right?
They know nothing about it.
Okay, that's a different
They
cart.
know nothing about it. Say I'm running 4 or 5 searches. Let's say I'm looking for comps, and I run a search, find a couple comps, put it in Joe's cart. I go over, run another search, put it in Joe's cart. Then I could load his cart and do my CMA. So you're just putting them aside for your thing. I had a person the other week that it shows under my matrix contacts, it shows their favorites and possibilities. Well, this agent the client was coming into town, so she wanted to do driving directions for the favorites and possibilities. Well, if I click on the favorites, it's only going to show me the favorites. If I click on the possibilities, it's only going to show me the possibilities. So what I told her to do, she wanted to do driving directions to all 4 of them. Look at the favorites, put the favorites in her cart. look at the possibilities, put the possibilities in our cart. So now in our cart, you have all 4 listings, then go to directions, and it would plot all 4 of them. So there's lots of uses for carts that as you get used to them. But the important thing to remember is your client knows nothing about the cart. If you put it in the cart, they don't know anything about it. If you want them to know about those listings in their cart, you would email the listings to them.